Down the left-hand side, you can see the topics that we're going to cover in today's video. These are all of the skills that you will need to be successful as a searcher when using the app on your phone or on a tablet. The view is a little bit different than you would see on the website version. Most of the features are the same, but they're positioned a little bit differently for the smaller screen of your phone. The first thing that we're going to go through are the menus around the screen. We're going to take a walk around the screen, but we're going to start here in the upper left-hand corner with what we call the hamburger menu. You see the three horizontal lines. We call that the hamburger menu, and when I touch that and swirl it down, I'm going to drop down to the bottom under the configuration. First of all, let's take a look at the account, and you can see that I have my login email, and notes that my team membership provides access to the premium feature. When you're logged into the team account, you have access to all the features of Caltopo, either on your phone or in a desktop version. Next up are the settings. I'm just going to highlight a couple of the settings that are important for consistency when using with the team. So here, the second choice down, you see show labels and photo preview. To declutter the map, if you don't want to see labels and you don't want to see thumbnails of the photos which have been added to the map, this is where you can turn those off. I'll show you how to use one finger zoom when we start getting into using the map. I turn off the UTM USNG grid, but if you're using this for navigation, especially with a physical paper topographical map or a map and compass, that might be useful for you. The default mode, you're going to want to make sure that's set to SAR. You have two choices here, recreation and SAR. We're going to leave it in SAR. That gives us all the incident command structure choices in adding objects, assignments, operational period, those sort of things. So make sure that you're on SAR there. I like having coordinates showing on my screen, but if you want to further declutter your screen, you can turn off the box which will appear in the upper right-hand corner of the map. It takes up some space. Declutter your map by turning this off. I leave it on. For datum, we always want to be on WGS 84 for consistency. And for my coordinate system, we primarily in search use UTM as a ground description of where we are on the Earth. Our air assets use degrees or degrees, minutes, seconds, and so you can set your primary and secondary coordinate systems right there. You have a lot of other choices. I leave a heading line up so that when I'm navigating to a point, it's giving a pointer to where I'm walking towards, and my north reference I leave as magnetic so that it's consistent if I'm also using a compass. For the GPS location recording track detail, we'd like you to leave this at least or medium or high. Highest uses more battery. Low is not quite the level of detail that we would prefer. So let's set those on either medium or high, but you certainly can go to highest if you've got a super battery. Depending on your data plan with your cell phone, you may or may not want to allow cellular tile downloads and cellular photo downloads. These are the things that are going to support offline use of the map in the field. If you can find a Wi-Fi hotspot, then you don't need to download over cellular, but I have an unlimited data plan, so I allow cellular tile downloads. If you feel that Caltopo is taking up too much room with saved maps, saved searches, those sort of things, you can clear the tile cache here, and it'll get rid of all the extra tiles, maps that you have in the background. That's about it for settings. Download layers. When you arrive on scene, or if you can get this done while we're doing a waiting period, standby period before we go, I'd recommend downloading layers when you're in a cell phone depleted environment. It's nice to have the maps to show up in the background so that you're not struggling to see where you're at. So let's show you how to use that feature right now. So the purple dots that you see on the screen are consistent with what I saw on the map. You see how York is centered there? If I go back and I move over here to Lancaster, so now I have Lancaster, and I download layers, now the purple dots will be centered around Lancaster. We're going to go back to York, back across the river. There we are, York is centered. We're going to download layers. The purple dots were the extents of my screen. And then you see the grid, the black grids that are here. As I decide what areas I want to download and save directly to my phone so that these don't have to be loaded by a cellular signal, I can touch on these and you see how they turn yellow. So I'm going to include everything that was in the view of my purple box. Zoom out some more, you might have 6 or 8 of these yellow boxes that you want to turn on, but this tells me what tiles or what layers I'm going to turn on. You can see what background layers are available for you to select. I'll show you which ones we normally use. In the download layers, I'm going to touch the cloud, and we're going to do these 15-minute by 15-minute quads at least high resolution. I include Map Builder Topo, which is a topographical map, global imagery, which is kind of the satellite or overhead view, and then also parcel data. Makes it easy to see where people's land borders are. I can see people's property lines. And then you click. It tells you how much space you're going to use up. Those 3 at the high resolution are going to use a gig of my data. I have 181 gigs left, so that's not going to impact me. If you have to change the resolution or reduce the number of layers, you can manage that against your own cell phone's memory. Click download, and then as it's downloading those, you see the progress downloading 77 tiles, 75 tiles. That'll continue to drop, and it'll color code once it has the layers pulled in. If I want to see what the color coding is, I can click the question mark icon, and you can see that the light blue means I have partial resolution, and the dark blue shows that I have full resolution, and that yellow box is my current selection when I went in there. You can see that one of those has already loaded. There we go. Now they're coming up. Okay, we're back. Caltopo's done downloading the maps for this tile set that I have selected. You can see everything has turned purple. And if I want to see that the other layers that I've selected are also fully downloaded, I can go into global imagery and parcel data, and all of those are fully downloaded. They're all purple. However, if I were to go into scan topos, I didn't select that as a layer that I wanted to download. If I changed my mind and I wanted the topographical maps, then I would just come in and repeat the process by selecting the area that I want to download in yellow and going to the download from the cloud. You see that Scan Topos is selected, change my resolution to max resolution, and down here at the bottom it'll tell me how much space it's going to take up, and I can click download. So that'd be a way to add to the layers that you're saving on your phone. Okay, back to the hamburger menu. Above the configuration, you can see the teams that I am subscribed to. Everyone will have a Your Data folder, and depending on what team or teams you're subscribed to, you'll see Search 93 data here and Scan QR code. If I wanted to scan a QR code when I arrive on scene to load a map, I can click Scan QR code and it'll pop up with the camera to scan the QR code. That'll take me right into the incident map for this incident or event or training. Here under the Teams folder structure, you can see that we have a year for 2025 events, and then incidents, those would be callouts. And down here under training, training 23, 24, 25. We're going to load the Rocky Ridge map. That'll load the map. If you want to save maps in the team account for sharing between people for training canines or a hike that you can practice using Caltopo, there is a sandbox account here that you can use just for random maps for practice. But we're going to go back to the training map for 2025-518. You can see here in the upper left-hand corner that the map is now loaded, and I'm going to center it on the ICP here at Rocky Ridge. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. This is the map for this particular training day. I now have a map loaded, and we'll continue to walk around the screen. If I wanted to see a 3D version of a mountainous terrain, I can click on the 3D view. I haven't found that to be particularly helpful, but it's a neat feature to have. Across the top, searching. If I want to find a location, I can use that using a zip code. So for example, 17362 would take me to Spring Grove, Pennsylvania. You can see there is Spring Grove. If I wanted to use a name, Rocky Ridge County Park, York, PA, that'll take me to Rocky Ridge, or I can enter the coordinates or copy and paste coordinates from a Google map or some other source. So very useful search functions in here. The measure tool doesn't leave any artifacts on the map, but it gives you the ability to check a distance or a bearing, look at the area of a polygon if you wanted to see how many acres that took up. You can draw boxes around a neighborhood and see how many properties there are in a neighborhood or how many structures. So if we were doing building clearing, going door to door, you can see how many structures are in a particular area by drawing a polygon around something. So we'll show you that right now. So if I click on structure count and I come down here and I tap on the map and say I want to check this neighborhood, there's 300 structures within the polygon that I just drew. It's not persistent, it doesn't stay on the map, so it's the measure icon is good for quick checks, but doesn't always give persistent information. So if I want to add something to the map, I click the plus. These are add map items. The things that you're going to use most often are add marker, add photo, and then under the SAR objects, add a clue. That you can play around with all of the other options. Most of them we use on the desktop version to create operational periods, create folders, create range rings for lost person behavior. So these features exist on the phone, but are not usually used on the phone. But clue, photos, and markers are the ones that you're going to use most often. I'll show you how to do that a little bit later on. If you want to see the folder of things that are already on the map, you can click the Map Items folder, and you can turn on and off any of the folders and scroll down and see what's in them. If you touch on something, it will center in the map. So let's show you that now. If you see my initial planning point, if I were down here, somewhere far away on the map, and I wanted to recenter the map on the initial planning point, I'd come up here to the folder icon, tap on initial planning point, and it's immediately centered right in the map. So very useful. If you turn on or off any of these folders to declutter the map, things that you're not using, things that you don't care to see, that doesn't affect what command sees. You're not actually changing the map, you're just changing what you see on your own personal device. So you don't have to worry about screwing up command by turning on and off items. Just don't delete them. The last menu across the top is the map layers. So right now we have Map Builder Topo, which is a combination of a street map and a topographical map. If you just wanted to see a topographical map, you could use that if that's your jam. If you wanted to see the satellite view, and that's what you're more comfortable with, seeing where the foliage is, telling that this is a baseball field. As I zoom in, this is a parking lot. You can see that satellite view with global imagery. There are marine charts, FAA sectional charts, historical maps, satellite views, although the resolution isn't great on those. I prefer TF Outdoors. It creates the cleanest map for me. It includes a description of kind of a view, a legend of what's in the foliage, but also roads and trails. So I like TF Outdoors. It's the cleanest look, but the one favored by Caltopo, the one that they've built as kind of the catch-all, is Map Builder Topo. If you are wondering what is contained within Caltopo, you can see Show Legend, and it'll give you the key to all of their different iconography. You can stack these base layers and add them together. So if I wanted shaded relief as well, now I'm going to get an overhead view without the trees, a relief view of what the terrain looks like, and then I can change the opacity of this so that the underlying map shines through, and now I have relief plus the topographical, gives you a nice view. Turn that off. If we have loaded a map sheet for a particular area, naming the trails, naming the pavilions, like we did at Rocky Ridge, you can load map sheets. We load these by ourselves, so they don't exist for all parks, but in this case, they're within the view of your screen. There's one for Rocky Ridge. I'm going to set the opacity for 100%. That means it shines right through. And this is the county's map of Rocky Ridge. And you can see if I change the opacity down a little bit, that now I can see their markers over top of the map underneath. So you can play around with the opacity. So map sheets can be really useful as long as there is one for the area that you're working in. There's a lot of other overlays if you want to see the fire history, if you want to see parcel data, so I can see who owns a particular parcel. I zoom in here, and this is Mark Bowen owns that. Metropolitan Edison owns that. So nice to see ownership or addresses. You can see structures listed. So now each of the structures are marked in orange. So again, if we're clearing a neighborhood and you want to see through the tree cover and see where all the structures are, you can turn that on. There's a lot of choices with weather shading down here, forecasts, wind plots, if you're flying a drone, avalanche risk, etc. So you can play around with all of those layers. This box in the upper right hand corner is the coordinates for where the center of the map is. So you can see as I move around the map, those coordinates change, including elevation. It tells me that I'm in the WGS datum. I chose UTM, which is my top coordinate system, and then decimal degrees, which is my second. You would change these in settings, and then that's what would show. You can turn this off if you want to declutter the map. Next most important menu down the right side is what we call the 4-dot menu. If I wanted to take a photo at my current location, I could click on this. It would pop open the camera and mark it on the map at the GPS location where you're standing. Not where the map is centered, but where you're standing. Share location. We're going to ask you to do this every time you come on scene, so let's click in there. I can choose what name. I can use initials or my full name. I can change my color. So I want to be green today, and then share my location with Search 93. This is critically important. If you don't share your location with Search 93 and then you say start sharing, It's not going to go anywhere. We're not going to see it on the map. So when you arrive on scene, click your 4 dots, location sharing, pick a color, check the search 93, and then start sharing. And this is now showing where I'm at sitting here at home. When you're done and you leave the scene, you can turn this off by unchecking the share your location and then stop sharing, and then your pointer will disappear off the map. If you're going out on a search, we ask you to turn on record track. You're going to name the track with your team name. So we're going to call this Team 101, pick a color, and then start. And now this GPS will follow you and mark on the map so that we can see the tracks of what has been searched. This is critically important. When you're done and you're off the search, before you go to the restroom, before you do the debrief, before you go back to your car, certainly before you drive home, please make sure that you finish your track recording, and then that'll be preserved on the map, but you won't continue to track your drive home. Okay, our last choice here is marker at GPS. So let's say I come up upon a hazard, maybe it's a groundhog hole or something bigger, don't want to twist your ankle, especially in the dark, and I want to drop a marker at my current GPS. I can drop a marker and change my label to something very short and sweet. We don't want that full time and date there. So we're going to say groundhog hole. And then we can mark this as a hazard and put it into the hazards folder, and then click OK. If I wanted to take a picture of something, I could as well. And that's how to put a marker at your current location. If you want to use this as a navigational tool, like a compass, you can turn on the location marker for your screen. And if you want to change it so that it's north up, you can click it again. If you want to turn that off, turn that tracking off for some reason, probably to preserve battery, you can click and hold, and that'll turn that off. Down here on the left is scale. It tells you how far zoomed in you are, so you can see right now I'm zoomed into a 50 foot per, looks like about 1/4 of an inch. If I were to zoom out, you can see now of a sudden, now we've got 1,000 feet for roughly the same amount of measurement. So that gives you your scale. And that's an orientation to the menus of Caltopo. Okay, next up are clues and photos. So let's say I'm standing over a clue and I want to highlight it to the incident command post, mark its location, take a photo of it. I'm going to center the map on my location by touching my GPS down here in the bottom, and then I'm going to come up here to add, and you can see under SAR objects, instead of adding a marker, I'm going to add a clue. This gives me a lot of fields. I'm going to label this hat, something very, very concise. I'm going to put it into the important clues folder. I was on the AC assignment at the time, and then under details, I'm going to say tan ball cap with red brim. Then I can take a picture of it and contact incident command and see whether they want me to collect it, mark it, or ignore it. If they say collect it, then I'll leave it there. If I'm just going to flag it and leave it for law enforcement to come collect, then we can click mark. And if they say this is not something that they care about, then we can click ignore, but we still have documentation of where it was and that we found it. So in this case, we're going to collect it after we take a photo and click OK. Now I've dropped a marker in that location with a photo attached. Next, let's say we want to go to a marker. Let's say we're a dog team and somebody said that they have a scent article. We want to collect our own scent articles. We're standing over here at the incident command post and we want to find our way to the scent article. We ask them to drop a pin where they're at. They mark it as scent article. We can come up here to the folder and see that the scent article is here. Click on that and it centers the screen on the scent article, but I don't know how far away that is from my current location. So I'm going to click the Navigate To choice. And now you can see that the location where I'm at to the location of the scent article is coming up on the screen. Okay, so if we click on this waiting for location, you can see that my navigation is bearing 358 degrees magnetic. Gives me a bearing line, but the other thing that I can do is click that waiting for location again, and it gives me a lot more information. I'm navigating to the scent article. My remaining distance is about 700 feet, and then my bearing 358 degrees magnetic, and as I start to walk, an arrow will show up and point me in the right direction. I'll just keep walking until I get to the scent article. Once I'm done and I've arrived there, I can click finish and we'll stop navigating and it turns everything off. This works really well for found missing person. Somebody can drop a pin on the missing person at their GPS and the RIT team or the police department can go directly to that location. So here we have the missing person found by our canine team. We're going to click marker at GPS and drop a pin in the location where we're standing. We're going to change the label from the time and date stamp to missing persons found. Go into style and change the icon to the finish flag. And then if you really want a gold star, you can go into the comments and write down the time when the patient was found. Click OK. It works really well for searchers in distress. If I have a Mayday call, I can drop a pin and everybody can navigate to the person who's in distress, sort of like an all call. So we'll take a look at that now. In Caltopo, again, just simply drop a marker at the GPS location, change the label to Mayday, and then I would suggest changing the size to 8x so that it's obvious on the map and able to navigate to by all the other ground search teams or RIT team. If you're out in the woods and you want to find the most direct way back to the incident command post, you can come up here and select incident command post and then click navigate to, and it'll tell you how far you need to go and in which direction, and it'll take you directly back to the command post. And if you have to go around streams or across bridges or across road crossings, it'll continue to update and navigate you back to the pin that you are navigating to. So we're going to click stop navigating. And the last thing that we can do is if we want to drive to a marker, we can do that as well. So let's say we go to that scent article and we want to drive to it. You can see driving directions. You choose your navigation app. Do you want to drive using Apple or Google Maps? I'm going to call up Google Maps, and you can see that it'll take me about 2 minutes to drive to that location. Oh, I'm sorry, 2 minutes walking, 7-minute drive, and it'll cost me $1.45 to get on the Atlantic City Expressway. So driving directions works really well, especially when we have a far-flung search area and we want to go pick up a team, meet a team when they come out at a trailhead, that sort of thing. And those are the skills that you will need to be successful in Caltopo for searching. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll continue to produce these videos with more information as we develop them.